familiar. So we've got Toler Webb, the senior world champ 2012, and of course, having graduated from seniors into masters with flying colors. Recent achievements being Knoxville regional champion and world's top 64. So a really, really accomplished player and running a fairly, a lot of fairly standard Pokemon, but a bit of a balanced team with a bit of Twisted and Sinister.
Yeah, I love seeing the Sinister here. One of Pokemon that, personally, I was like a little scared to use in this regulation at first, so I am happy to see more people use it. Gives me some confidence to, test it more myself as well. With that Dragonite as well, you might be able to activate that multiscale again. Otherwise, Primarina, Sneasler, Magma, Kingambit. Otherwise a very standard 6, but still, some interesting moves. We have a Misty Terrain on that Primarina, maybe to block off some...
Yeah, maybe opposing Diaclaw. Because it's really interesting. There's actually, there's the Lumberry on the Dragonite to prevent any sort of, status. Yeah, and then there's, so the Will-O-Wisp, Diaclaw, and Magic Gotcha all will be blocked by that Misty Terrain if the Primarina goes for it. So I think the Misty Terrain might just be something that Toler has built in his team if there's a lot of status on the opposing team.
Yeah, and regrettably, this Kingambit does not have the Black Glass, it has the Dread Plate. Same item, but I think Black Glass is just cooler, so, gives
not
you bonus
as fashionable.
Not as aesthetically pleasing, but we take it, and no Sneasel this time. It is a fully evolved Sneasler, has that Poison Touch, has that Dire Claw, so, after this best of 3, going up against the same team again, we can decide after that, is it Sneasler or is Sneasel the better Pokemon in this matchup? But yeah, let's take a look at Toler's opponent. Aqlif Putra is playing, we've gone through these 6 before, so I am going to note their accomplishments first. 2022 Malaysia National Top 32, 2021 World Cup of VGC Top 16, and 2016 Singapore National Top 32.
Yeah, so some really amazing accomplishments from Aqlif, and Aqlif is running a very, very similar team to what we saw in the last game. So it looks like to be just the Baltimore Regionals winning team, and we don't know how these Pokemon are trained, but just looking by the items and the movesets and the Terra types, it looks to be possibly just maybe a very similar version of that Baltimore winning team. And of course, I think we can, looking back at just the team matchups, I think it's a fairly even match. We saw in that previous game, the Archaludon was just really, really, really bulky in their games 1 and 2, just surviving so many hits. Of course, in game 3, the John Day then adapted to that and just focused on the Archaludon. So this might be something that Toler might want to focus on to make sure that the Archaludon doesn't run away with the game.
We are going to have to see how Toler manages this Archaludon in this upcoming Game 1, which I believe is ready to go right now. So I am curious to see if we are going to see some similar leads here or maybe something different. But it is going to be, and one more time, going up against the Kingambit and Sneasler.
Ooh, this is a really cool lead matchup. So Maushold, Archaludon, of course, putting on immediate pressure with maybe a population bomb onto Archaludon, raising the defense. Of course, facing both Toler's Pokemon are going to be very, very physical attackers, so they're not going to really enjoy going up against, say, a +6 Archaludon. Of course, Sneasler does have access to Fake Out and also outspeeds the Maushold, so it can just immediately go for a close combat to the Maushold to just knock it out. And if the Maushold maybe tries to get a bit clever to work around the super effective hit, it might get hit by a Diaclaw. So a lot of really, really close options for both players here.
Yeah, and we did see the Sneasler in the last match. That close combat did a lot of damage, and this is a fully evolved Sneasler. Let's have to maybe protect this Archaludon a little bit, since Sneasler get that close combat before the population bomb even comes out. We are going to see a Terra here. From what I believe was Toler's side, is just going to be that Terra Stellar Sneasler right away. And so we might see a close combat here, since it hits both of these opposing Pokemon super effective, and we'll be able to knock out one of them. But it is also going to be a Terra here for Aqlif. So if it is that Maushold, which it is, could go for a follow, protect that Archaludon from the close combat and not take any damage itself.
Yeah, I stand corrected. I thought this was a Terra Grass Mousehold for some reason. I don't know why I thought that, but that Terra Ghost is going to be really helpful in redirecting a super effective Stellar Terra close combat. And of course, Archaludon now going for the Body Press with so much damage to Kingambit. Kingambit now on a bit of a timer here. It really needs to target its attacks, and it is at +2, so it's very, very threatening. And of course, threatens that Mousehold really, really heavily. But of course, at 44 HP, that Kingambit is in danger of just getting knocked out by any sort of attack.
Yeah, I mean, the Kingambit being at +2, of course, means Sucker Punches are going to be a threat, but with this Mousehold being a Terra Ghost type now, and have that Archaludon go for a nest and just knock out the Kingambit. Even if the Kingambit here decides to go for a protect, Sneasler with Dire Claw and Close Combat isn't really doing much to this Mousehold unless it gets asleep with the Dire Claw. That could be something. But yeah, Mousehold's just gonna go for another Follow Me here.
Yeah, a nice following just to redirect any sort of attack, and Sucker Punch now going to fail. Dire Claw, of course, once more going to not very effective onto the Mousehold, but might get some sort of status. Are we going to get anything? No, we don't. Body Press following up from the Archaludon, knocking out that +2 Kingambit without it getting any attacks.
Yeah, that is one of Toler's heavy hitters gone right away, and with only Sinistcha and Primarina in the back, this Archaludon, could prove to be a difficult Pokemon to take out. And that Mousehold in that Terra Ghost form taking a Terra Stellar Dire Claw really well from a Sneasler. The second Dire Claw is going to be
Terra
Stellar who's the close better to safely do that, you have to get rid of the Mousehold first.
Yeah, this Mousehold is proving to be a really, really annoying thorn on Toler's side. And the Archaludon actually hasn't set up at all. There's been no special attack boost, no body press boost, but it's just, its raw damage output is, going up, being times for a super effective against the Kingambit. It's doing so well. And now this Sneasler, I think, probably needs another 2 hits of Dire Claw to knock out the mouse. Of course, Sinistcha can follow up with the Magic Gotcha, which isn't 100% accurate, but if that's something that Toler chooses to select, might be able to get rid of that Mousehold, and then Sneasler can go for those super effective close combats onto the Archaludon.
And Sneasler is just gonna get that close combat off. No more Follow Me from the Mousehold here, so Archaludon is gonna go down. That is the power of a Terra Stellar Sneasler right there. Is gonna take that huge threat out. And the Mousehold here, we didn't see a Rage Powder from the Sinistcha either, so yeah, the Population Bomb will easily be able to take out this Sneasler with less than 10 hits. Doesn't need all of them. Critical Hit not gonna matter either. So yeah, Terra Stellar Sneasler going down here, and Archaludon going down as well. But yeah, the Sinistcha here, cannot get hit by Population Bomb, and Mousehold doesn't have any other attacking moves, so that is a great position for it. Magic Gotcha almost taking it out, but not quite. So this Primarina is gonna have to fear that Population Bomb.
Yeah, Primarina, of course, can be protected by a Rage Powder from the Sinistcha, but that also means that the Sinistcha is going to be forced to spend that time gone for the Rage Powder. Of course, against the Pelipper, which has the ability to go for super effective Hurricanes, this Sinistcha does not have Protect, and Toler doesn't have the option to Terastallize out of that Grass-type weakness anymore, so Sinistcha can choose to try and save the Primarina and buy it a turn to knock out that Mousehold, or it can maybe try and go for a Trick Room, because both Primarina and Sinistcha are very, very slow and can go first if the Trick Room is able to be set up successfully on this turn.
Yeah, that is a good point, and I think the Primarina might opt to go for a Protector because of that, but the Mousehold actually going for a Protect, wants to hang around for one more turn. No Protect from Toler's side. Hurricane barely missing the KO on the Sinistcha, but does get the Confusion. Will the Sinistcha be able to get through here? Citrus Berry is going to be able to heal it up a little bit, but this is a very important turn here for Toler. He needs to get this move off. Can the Sinistcha pull through? No! Oh, it hits itself. That is very, very unfortunate. The Moonblast here gonna hit the Pelipper, bring it down to that Focus Sash. But, the Sinistcha not being able to get that move off is bad news for Toler.
Oh, that's really, really unfortunate because we saw that Toler did not select Trick Room. We went for that Macho Gotcha because, of course, Sinister went before the Primarina. So if it had been able to get an attack off, that would have been the Aqlif knocked out. And then, of course, because that Mouse went for the Protect, the Primarina wasn't in danger of getting Population Bomb. And then second in turn, the Sinister quick on that range out. But you actually see that Mouse now withdrawing, maybe Aqlif recognizing that it's not going to be able to do very much against the Rage Powdering Sinister. Although the Sinister, once again, when you're trying to go for a Rage Powder, and it's going to succeed, but of course, there's no Mouse hold on the field, so it looks like Telecom might be running Hurricane right into it.
Yeah, and you know, with Aqlif revealing that their last Pokemon is that Amoonguss, you know, at that point I'm pretty sure the Hurricane confusion didn't matter anymore because with the Sinistcha and the Primarina, Amoonguss is going to be a very tough Pokemon to get. Of course, you know, there was that option of, you know, going for the Misty Terrain to block off any spores, and you know, you can heal with Life Dew as well, but you know, the Mousehold is at 1 HP and you know, you have the Rage Powder. I guess we'll never know, but Amoonguss, you know, for a Pokemon like Primarina and Sinistcha, very tough to get through.
Yeah, Primarina can't really hit the Amoonguss for super effective damage, and Amoonguss can just go for a Spore. If Primarina chooses to go for that Misty Terrain, that's a turn that it's not attacking, and just allows the Mousehold for a free Population Bomb off. And we're going to see the Population Bomb off. Is the Mousehold going to be able to connect all of its hits? And I think that was hit number 5, 6, 7, and that's the Primarina bomb. And we are going to go for game 2, and very, very well played by
Yeah, the Amoonguss there in the end, you know, probably the correct support in the back, so yeah, Toler is going to have to keep that in mind in the second game. And the Mousehold, you know, we saw once the Sinistcha was gone, you know, that Population Bomb is just so threatening. So yeah, Toler might also have to preserve that Sinistcha, or maybe even bring it out earlier in the game. The Sneasler did do a lot of work with, you know, the Terra Stellar just taking out the Archaludon, but you know, there is a reason why this team is so popular, and you know, it is a winning team. Optimore is, you know, even without that Archaludon, there's just so many Pokemon there that just threaten your opponent in so many different ways. And yeah, so even if one thing goes wrong, you know, you have other options as well. So yeah, gonna be interesting to see what adjustments Toler makes in that second game.
Yeah, a bit of a balanced team versus the Rain Hyper offense, and believe game 2 is ready, so we're going to go straight on to game 2 and see how our players have adjusted to this. And it looks like Amoonguss and Mousehold is going to come, so a lot of immediate direction, immediate Population Bomb up against Sneasler and Kingambit once again from Toler's side.
Yeah, Toler deciding that the lead was fine, but maybe just, you know, a few turns could have been played differently. The Kingambit, you know, not going for a Terra right away means that it took so much damage from that body press. But now there is no Archaludon on the field, but there is the Amoonguss, and right now Toler doesn't really have a way to stop a Spore from coming out, aside from, you know, that turn 1 fake out. But after that, you are going to have to find other ways to stop it.
Yes, this Amoonguss is in a really nice position here. It's got a very free swap onto, or try and swap onto either the Sneasler or Kingambit. Of course, there is a Lumberry Dragonite that perhaps Toler has brought out in the back, which might be able to switch in, but the Lumberry Dragonite is not going to appreciate taking any sort of Population Bombs from the Mousehold. So it looks like actually the Mousehold is just going to protect, maybe trying to scout out what Toler's going to do, or maybe just kind of burn out that kind of
it is going to be a coaching here from the Sneasler, so no fake out in that turn 1, but also no Terra, and the Counter Cleave is going to go into that protecting Mousehold. So although there was an attack boost, no damage yet, and now the Amoonguss is free to go for a Spore onto that Kingambit, so won't be attacking anytime soon.
Yeah, Kingambit now being put to sleep. Of course, it is going to resist the Population Bombs from the Mousehold, and at +1, it's really not going to care about getting hit 10 times from that Mousehold. And Amoonguss has Clear Smog, but of course, it can't actually hit the Kingambit in its regular Dark and Steel type because Steel resists the poison. So Kingambit doesn't really care too much at the moment about getting hit by Clear Smog, and eventually, if Toler is able to stall out the turns of sleep, once that Kingambit wakes up, it's about to become a really scary threat.
Yeah, sometimes that is your best option going up against something like a Moongus that, okay, you cannot really stop the Spore from putting you to sleep, but if you are in a position where, you can stall out those sleep turns, and once you wake up, you know that King Gambit is already at +1 attack, it can be the Pokemon that just, straight up wins the game for Toler. And Amoonguss is actually going to switch out here, so I'm not going to try and put anything else to sleep as our Chaladon comes in. Is the Muscle just going to go for a population bomb here? We will have to wait and see. It is going to be a Terastallization first here for the Mousehold. Is going to go Terra Ghost once again, so did not want to take a close combat from that Sneasler. And I'm gonna guess we're gonna see a population bomb into our Chaladon here.
Yeah, let's see how many hits does it get. 1 hit. That's gonna be 1 stamina defense boost. Another hit and 2 hits. I've definitely seen Mouseholds miss the population bombs, but it's very unlikely. That's at +3, so this Chaladon is very much set up and ready to go. So at +4, it's easily enough to take a lot of Pokemon on Toler's team. Of course, Sinister can Rage Powder away all of the really super effective body presses, so it's nice switching, but I think Chaladon now at +6, so no longer getting any sort of defense boost, and just getting a little bit of chip damage from this Mousehold, but Chaladon really nice switching, and Mousehold of course has the taunt, so it can stop the Sinister from going for the Rage Powders. King Gambit of course also taking his first turn sleep, so there is a chance that it might wake up next time.
Yeah, there's a lot of options here for Aqlif, who is in a really, really nice position here. As you just mentioned, yeah, the Rage Powder, of course, can redirect away those body presses, but once it is taunted, it can't do that anymore. And suddenly we know the Archaladon being at +6 means that this King Gambit, even if it gets 1 or 2 more Swords Dances up, which probably isn't going to happen anyway, but it's suddenly no threat anymore. And, just like in the last few, Toler's team is primarily physical attackers, the only exception being that Primarina and the Magmar. And the Primarina, which usually runs Haze, it has Misty Terrain, so you cannot get rid of those defense boosts either. Sinister is going to get taunted here as a drag pulse comes out onto the Sinister. Also a very fair play, just get rid of that Pokemon and then, you're pretty much free to just body press everything.
Oh yeah, the Matcha Gotcha of course does have that 30% chance of burn, so it might be something that Toler is banking right now. Of course, burning that Chaladon will heavily reduce the damage output of its body presses, and Sinister took that Dragon Pulse really, really well, and it's also going to resist any electro shots if there is a Pelipper hiding in the back. So the Sinister is quite a nice switch. Of course, it is now taunted, so it can't go for anything like a Life Dew or Rage Powders or Trick Room, but it is quite free to just start spamming Matcha Gotchas and maybe hopefully get that burn on the Chaladon and just try and put that on time.
Yeah, and the Mousehold is going to switch, so maybe realizing that, we might need that taunt a little bit later, and King Gambit could wake up any moment now. Amoonguss coming back in here at full HP, and King Gambit is actually going to switch out here for Toler, so the Sneasler is coming back in here. And yeah, I mean, as we said, our Chaladon is at +6, and this body press is gonna bring it down to that Focus Sash. That is one mighty body press. And yeah, Sinister can't do anything to help its teammates right now. It can just go for Matcha Gotchas, maybe fish for a burn, like you mentioned before.
That was a very sad damage from the Matcha Gotcha. Sneasler, I don't think that critical hit from a +6 Chaladon matter. Of course, Sneasler does get the access to Fake Out. Once again, it does get a burn on the Amoonguss, which probably isn't going to do very much. And I think actually Aqlif might actually prefer the burn over maybe getting put to sleep from a Dire Claw from the Sneasler. Sneasler, of course, at 1 HP, it's going to get knocked out by any attack, and a Chaladon at +6 is not going to be afraid of the close combats unless there's a critical hit.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're afraid of that, you can just Rage Powder with the Amoonguss to, protect yourself or from anything that could go wrong in the situation. Amoonguss is going to take those close combats very, very well. And yeah, but the Sinister, if it still stays on the field for a while and the Mousehold is not here anymore to taunt it again, once the taunt runs out, that's like the only Pokemon that's really a problem here for Aqlif, but it's still not really doing any damage in return either.
Yeah, and as you called out, the Among Us now going for that range counter, just playing out really safe, protecting the Chaladon from a critical hit. Sneasels, close quarters, decent chip damage onto this Among Us, but that also means the Chaladon is once again free to body press and take that one last remaining sliver of health from the Sneezer, and it's going to force Toler to become program. After is coming up once again onto the Among Us.
Are we gonna see a burn?
Not doing anything but for a minute there, I thought that brief second was the Chaladon getting burned from the Master Gotcha.
It might still get burned, but I don't think it will. That Among Us taking a little bit of burn chip damage, but that is not the Pokemon you want that status on right now. But Sinistcha now shaking off the taunt, and the Mousehold is not on the field right now. The question is, what do you do in the situation now if you are Toler? Like, what is your game plan? This Primarina, you know, usually it does run Haze, but as we said before, this one has Misty Terrain, so you can't really get rid of those defense boosts as well. And so, yeah, this is looking a little bit problematic. Of course, Primarina, you know, being a special attacker, can maybe go for Hyper Voices, which, you know, our Chaladon resists. Moonblast can be redirected by that Among Us. This is going to be very tricky.
Yeah, the Among Us might want to think about switching out at the stage because the Primarina does have access to Misty Terrain and it doesn't do much damage against either the Sinistcha or the Primarina, but there is still that Chaladon on the field and you know, it's really threatening, and we haven't seen Aqlif's last move. We saw that Mousehold and I suspect possibly a Pelipper lurking in the back, just waiting to activate maybe an Electric or Sinistcha now, going for that Rage Powder, just trying to redirect any super effective see that Electric shot. So Chaladon just choosing to go for it outside of the rain, maybe just recognizing that, you know, it's going to be able to just get one off, get some special attack boosts, and Misty Terrain now coming off, so preventing any spores from the Among Us. But did the Among Us maybe pollen puff its own ally? But no, it went for that spore onto the Primarina.
Actually onto the switch. Yeah, predicting a switch, maybe a Terra, although I guess a Terra wouldn't really make much sense, you know, you don't want to turn into a Terra water type facing this Archaladon. But yeah, predicting a switch there most likely. And yeah, Among Us, you know, in this situation, I think that's a fair play. Because on the one hand, you could say, okay, maybe Aqlif should switch to this Among Us because it's not really doing anything. On the other hand, just keeping it on the field and always having that Rage Powder ready, also not a bad play. And there it is, because, you know, if this Archaladon, you know, it can still get crit by something like a Moonblast, and it definitely does not want to take that, as the Electroshot here goes into the Sinistcha, is going to take that very well, as the Moonblast comes out here into this Among Us. And yeah, you know, the Among Us does not have any recovery left. I think the Citrus Berry has already been consumed. So if this Among Us wants to heal some HP, it will have to switch and, you know, leave that Archaladon open for one turn and just pray that it doesn't get crit or anything like that.
Yeah, this is Among Us here is slowly led down by the chicken wing as well, and it looks like Toler now going for that Terra Water from the Primarina, so trying to boost up the damage of any Hyper Voices coming out. But Among Us and Chaladon have both remained on the field, so they are Among Us now going for that Rage Powder once again, just trying to redirect any attacks away. So of course, it's not going to work on the Hyper, so Flash Cannon coming out. Oh, it's going to do actually a fair bit of damage with Sinistcha, which is going to sacrifice its berry and regain some health.
Yeah, that Sinistcha won't be able to take one more Flash Cannon. A Hyper Voice coming out before the Primarina, doing just very little damage to both of these Pokemon, even with the Life Orb and the Terra.
Yeah, Trick Room now getting set up, so you know, just making sure that both the Sinistcha and the Primarina are able to move before each other. It's actually quite a nice position because the Among Us has stayed in for several turns now. All that burn damage and chip damage from the Primarina is slowly ticking down, so this Among Us, if it chooses to stay in this turn, it is going to go down to any attack from this Primarina, which means that the Primarina might be free to get maybe a Moonblast off onto this Archaladon unless the Among Us chooses to stay in, and it looks like just going to be both Rage Powder users trying to redirect some attacks away.
Oh, it was going to be a Pollen Puff this time. Gonna heal that Archaladon right back up, and yeah, that was the other reason to maybe keep Among Us on the field, is to just, you know, get that Archaladon healed up again. And the Among Us does go down now, but at this point, you know, maybe you don't need it anymore. Your Archaladon is nice and healthy and still at plus flash here. I believe going into that.
Yeah,
Now your feet go for body presses.
Yeah, Toler now forced to his final Pokemon, which is that Sleeping Kingambit. Now, Kingambit has taken 2 turns off sleep, so there's quite a nice chance that it'll wake up this turn. But of course, the Kingambit, it is faster than the Archaludon on the Trick Room, but the Archaludon is at +6, so it's not, unless there's a critical hit, it will not be able to knock out that Archaludon one hit. And the Primarina, of course, is also, you know, against a +1 Archaludon. I think the flash cannons will be doing quite a lot of damage, and there's also that Mousehold on the field ready with its follow me's just to redirect away any sort of really strong attacks away from this Archaludon.
Yeah, as you mentioned, as long as there's not a lot of critical hits here, I don't think this is looking great for Toler here, especially since the Kingambit. Okay, it's not asleep anymore, it just woke up, I stand corrected. Mousehold is gonna go down through that Kowtow Cleave, but now this Archaludon here, you know, it's taking these moves from the Primarina very, very well, and will also take, you know, moves from Kingambit. Well, but Moonblast is gonna finally be able to hit this Archaludon, doing a good amount of damage. Gotta admit, that was a little more than I expected, but, you know, this body press here will easily take it out.
Yeah, and now against the Kingambit, a physical attacker, it's not being boosted up against a +6 Archaludon. I think that at this stage, Toler will probably have to hope for maybe a critical hit against this Archaludon, because there's no other way the Kingambit can actually get through this Archaludon. There's also that Focus Sash Pelipper, and it's a 1v2. Kingambit has no spread moves, and I think this game is going to go to Aqlif, who's played around really, really well, just mitigating that threat from Kingambit.
Kowtow Cleave is not gonna crit that Archaludon, taking that so well, and Body Press is just gonna take out Toler's Kingambit, meaning that this best of 3 is gonna go to Aqlif with a 2-0 score.